What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading. Today, we're going to talk about why the crypto rally is likely to continue in the next couple of days. And this is the kind of content that you enjoy, so be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. So starting off where we left off yesterday, guys, I was pointing out that basically the main indicator you need to be watching, the main chart in the next few weeks, is the US dollar index, aka the DXY, which basically measures the strength of the US dollar. Yesterday, I noted that the US dollar was close to topping and was likely to start falling soon, within the next 24 hours roughly. And as you guys can see on the 4-hour chart here, the US dollar index, maybe I'll delete this just to make it a little clear. You can see the US dollar index here got rejected at key resistance somewhere around 99, and now it's basically starting to roll over. A nice little double top pattern here, consistent with every single time the DXY got this overbought, you would get a continuation lower in the DXY, and that's of course what I expect in the next couple of days. And again, when DXY goes down, then basically everything else goes up, especially risk assets like cryptocurrencies. The other thing to keep in mind, guys, that one thing that's kind of crazy is that the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and all these kind of stock indices, they've been hitting massive new all-time highs. Yesterday, they hit new all-time highs. You have gold hitting like new all-time highs, going over 4,000. So of course, logically, if the US dollar is going down, the S&P 500's literally hitting all-time highs, gold is literally hitting all-time highs. Logically, it's only a matter of time that crypto basically catches up to that. And some would argue that, oh, like either crypto's lagging or maybe there's some kind of price suppression. Feel free to leave your theory in the comments. But the point is, when the DXY is starting to roll over, the S&P 500 is hitting new all-time highs, and gold is hitting new all-time highs, eventually that's going to reflect in the crypto market as well. And that's basically been my take, basically since the summer. And I think it's a pretty logical take to have, and it's just a question of when. And of course, we can debate that, whether it's going to be this month or next month or whatever. But when you're seeing all these different indices, again, DXY grinding lower over time, S&P 500 grinding higher over time, gold grinding higher over time, crypto will eventually follow, starting with Bitcoin and the large caps, and then eventually the small caps. That's what happens every time. This time is not different. Anyways, guys, what I actually want to give a shout out here to Sheldon the Sniper. I actually don't really follow this guy. I don't know if he's legit or not legit, but I saw this chart being shared on X, and I found it very interesting because I do think that the pattern that he drew out here, this is from October 6th, so a couple days ago, the pattern that he drew out here, I think is pretty accurate in terms of what's happening with Bitcoin on the 4-hour, and he also drew this on the 4-hour. The exact levels that he outlined here obviously were probably not entirely accurate, but the general structure, like the shape of the pattern, actually seems to be what we're seeing right now on the 4-hour chart. And I know it's a little bit tricky. Of course, it's always a little bit more muddy, let's say, in practice than it is in theory. But you can see that we got that drop. Like, maybe I'll switch between the two so it's a little bit clearer. So we got that first drop here that he outlined. That's exactly what happened, spot on. And we fell into that, I think, even into that range roughly that he was outlining. So somewhere to around 120,000, like just wicking down to it. So we saw that first drop lower into that box. Then we saw a rally out of that box. And then now we have like this kind of second leg, you could say, like, well, I wouldn't call it a second leg lower, but almost like a rejection and then a move lower, which is kind of what we're seeing now. And the key thing to look at, again, in terms of the structure, it doesn't really matter that, like, for example, he was drawing it out here that it would go back to 125,000, then fall to 123, and then continue higher. Here we have a situation that's more like it rallied up to 124, and now it's moving back down to, let's say, 122 roughly. And so long as we kind of get a higher low here, which is basically the key point of the structure, so long as we get a higher low in Bitcoin here, then this continuation higher that he outlines going into the end of the week and into next week, I think that's actually very likely to happen. So I guess long story short is that we don't want Bitcoin to fall, let's say, too much lower below like 121,000. If it falls into the 121,000 range, that's fine, but we don't want it to see basically break below that level on the 4-hour and kind of stay there. Ideally, it will print like another higher low in this kind of like last few days, let's say. And if that does happen, then Sheldon's thesis here that we're going to see a continuation higher into the end of the week and next week, I think that's on track. And whether that goes to 129,000 or 135,000 or 139,000 or whatever level that Aaron is watching, of course, again, that's anyone's guess. But this pattern, this analysis here, I think is pretty spot on, and is definitely one that has people feeling on edge, resetting positioning, resetting sentiment. Everyone wondering, oh my God, we're going to get another leg lower. I knew that this was a fake out. October is going to be Beartober or whatever word people are using. But anyways, so that's a really interesting thing to watch. Key takeaway being that, again, DXY dropping, stocks hitting all-time highs, gold hitting all-time highs, then you consider this little thesis here of like, okay, as long as we get a higher low here in the next day or two on Bitcoin on the 4-hour, then we're probably going to get a continuation higher going into the end of the week and into next week, because again, the macro backdrop for that is just perfect, right? Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the video, then I do need to direct your attention down to the description. Click on that more button and then check out this first deal here, BitGet up to 50,000 USDT deposit bonus. Just click on that link. It'll take you to a page that looks like this, and here there's all the steps that you need to basically take advantage of this deal. It's made possible by a partnership between the Coin Bureau and BitGet. And of course, to take it, full advantage of this deal, you do need to do quite a few things, like to get that 50,000 reward. But as I've said before, guys, like on a personal note, I think BitGet is a great exchange. That does not mean that you should be keeping all your crypto on BitGet or any exchange for that matter. Always keep your crypto in your personal wallet, which the Coin Bureau also has deals on in case you're looking for a hardware wallet by any chance. But yeah, always keep your crypto on your wallet. But when it comes to trading, spot markets, futures, like tokenized stocks, on-chain stuff, BitGet is an awesome exchange, in my personal opinion, irrespective of this partnership that we have between BitGet and the Coin Bureau. I actually do think it's a good exchange. So do check out, again, that link down in the description. Check out the exchange, see if it's right for you. And who knows, maybe you'll, manage to do the things to get some of those bonuses, right? To max out those rewards. Anyways, guys, moving on now to Ethereum. Yesterday, I noted the possibility that Ethereum could fall to the Bollinger Band moving average here on the daily around 4,300. This still looks kind of possible. But again, like, I guess it would theoretically potentially invalidate this thesis that Bitcoin would basically get a higher low, because if Ethereum falls by another, whatever it is here, 2 or 3%, then chances are that Bitcoin would also fall by a little bit further and potentially have a lower low in the short term. But regardless, as a low, let's say as a base case, as a worst case scenario rather, let's say that Ethereum will fall to 4,300. I don't really think that's super likely. And I'm sure, like, even if we zoom into the 4-hour, you can see that there's a lot of support around this 4,400 level. Like, it's a key psychological level, and it's always helpful to zoom in and out to see like where are these levels really. And you can see, especially guys, when you get these long wicks on these candles, like you can see that every single time Ethereum, the closer it falls to 4,400, it just like wicks off that level, and that tells you that basically people are buying the dip. There's a lot of buying orders around those levels. So long as that level holds, and I'm not going to deny, of course, like this pattern here looks pretty bearish. So again, it is possible that Ethereum falls to 4,300, but there is a lot of support around this 4,400 level. And it's a similar story with Solana, where like, yeah, it could go a little bit lower from here, but again, this 225 level is being heavily guarded. And again, you can see it a little bit clearer on the 4-hour, where just around this, whatever it is, yeah, 225, 220, let's say 230 maybe even, but around 225, you can see there seems to be a lot of support. The closer you get to this 220 level, there's people almost like front running that and buying the dip, and trying to, like, not prevent prices from going that low, but there seems to be a lot of people that are, the closer it gets to 220, the more that people want to buy. And of course, 220 is the Bollinger Band moving average on the daily here. Similar story for Sui. Again, like, could it fall, to the Bollinger Band moving average on the daily? Yeah, sure. It's only a little bit lower, it wouldn't really be like some massive drop lower. And again, on the 4-hour, you can just see that the closer that Sui gets to this $3.4 level, the more that people are coming in and saying, I'm buying at these levels, right? And that's really supporting Sui's price. It's been supporting Solana's price, and it's been supporting Ethereum's price. There just seems to be a lot of people who are buying the dip here, which makes perfect sense, because, like, everyone knows, like, hey, October, November comes next, whatever, December, whatever bullish thesis you have on the market, it all assumes that in the next few months, there's going to be a huge rally higher. So people are finally, in my opinion, taking advantage of these dips and actually buying these dips. And this is part of why, especially when it comes to Bitcoin and large caps, you've actually seen a lot of resilience despite these otherwise, like, objectively bearish patterns and, like, momentum and everything. It's just that every single time prices get to those levels, people are like, yeah, I'm going to buy here because, I'm not going to wait and see if it gets away from me again, right? And anyways, of course, that does tie into altcoins as a whole. In terms of others, again, same idea. There's a lot of support around this 310 billion level, and I think even on the 4-hour, I'll zoom in and you can probably see the same kind of phenomenon, where every single time we get a move closer to this 310 billion level, it seems that people are really buying up that level. There's a lot of support even going into this whole structure that we've basically been painting since July. You can see that this 310 billion level is just a key level, and it is reflective, you could say, of the fact that many altcoins, especially in others, are looking kind of similar to Sui in the sense that they're all at these key support levels, and a lot of people are kind of stepping in to buy those, and that's kind of keeping others elevated. Of course, not denying that smaller altcoins, of course, they're suffering, but within the others basket, the larger ones like Sui, whatever, Hedera, like these types of cryptos, they're all kind of like at these key levels, at these key support levels, and a lot of people seem to be buying those dips, and that's what's keeping others as a whole, like as the index, supported. Last but not least, going to Bitcoin dominance again, like this is one where like it really depends on the day, like what's going on. Like in the shorter term here, like yeah, like Bitcoin dominance got back above the Bollinger Band moving average on the 4-hour. But even if I was to, like, for example, throw on the RSI here, and I'm pretty sure that there's a bearish divergence. Yeah, like you would, and it's funny, like when it comes to these things, and if I was to say, oh look guys, there's a bearish divergence on the RSI and Bitcoin dominance, you'd say no, no, that's not possible because Bitcoin dominance has to go up for whatever reason. But again, like I'm open, and I'll make it clear again, guys. Like I'm open to the idea that Bitcoin dominance is going to rise in the next whatever it is, and of course the bearish divergence isn't really as clear on the daily. But I'm open to the idea that Bitcoin dominance is going to rise, let's say to 60%, maybe even 61%, especially because that would put it within range of this like a Bollinger Band moving average on the weekly, right? So I'm open to that idea. But this idea that there's going to be some massive rally in the Bitcoin dominance all the way to 66 or 70% over the next month, like I don't think that's going to happen. This is going to be maybe a 1 or 2 week move and then a continuation lower, and again, like on the monthly chart, at least in my opinion, I honestly think what we're going to see here is that last month it was kind of like a neutral month in September, kind of like a pause, and then this month is like a continuation lower of like a massive multi-month bear flag, basically in Bitcoin dominance, basically suggesting that the top in altcoins would be basically sometime in November. And feel free to disagree in the comments, but that's currently my view. And until I get some, until there's some exogenous shock, or until the DXY starts getting a massive breakout higher, or the S&P 500 is crashing, or gold is crashing, which to be honest, I've mentioned in previous videos, gold actually falling could potentially be beneficial for risk assets. But key point being is that as soon as the macro actually starts to look really bad, then yeah, maybe I'll say, okay, yeah, we're going to see a flight to safety, Bitcoin dominance is going to go up. But in the absence of that, we're at a stage in the cycle where any gain in Bitcoin dominance would be as a result of a rally in Bitcoin, some like bullish catalyst, like strategic reserve, and that this is a rally that would basically not last long, because as soon as people see Bitcoin rallying, they would basically immediately start rotating into altcoins, simply because they know that at this stage in the cycle, altcoin season is coming soon. And that is, it's not going to be like, oh, we're going back into Bitcoin now just as altcoins are about to rally. No, people will be like, oh my God, Bitcoin's finally rallying again. Altcoins are going to be next. I'm going to jump into altcoins. And again, you can see that evidenced by the fact that a lot of people seem to be buying Ethereum, Sui, Solana, a whole bunch of altcoins. As soon as they get to the key support levels, they're like, well, this seems to be key support, so this is a safe place to buy, because I think there's going to be higher highs, in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months, right? Anyways, guys, I hope that all made sense. And if it did, and if you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ding that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.